Everyone, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United
of
States
the United States of America,
and to the republic
and
for
to the republic
which it
for
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty.
with liberty and justice for all.
God bless him.
Okay, I would like to remind everyone to keep their lines on mute, except when they're talking. That way we can cut down on a lot of the background noise. Kelly, can we have roll call, please?
Cheney,
Here.
Menuda, O'Donnell,
Here.
Sassy,
Here.
Sierra, Sierra,
Muted,
I'm
Joel.
here. I'm here.
Stiganga,
Here.
Totel, Riskevich.
Here.
One
Okay.
absent, one not here just yet.
Okay. Okay, first up, we have Bill Fioravanti, Director of Economic Development, for his monthly update.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report's a little bit different, a little abbreviated right now. As everyone knows, I've been on assignment with the Orange County IDA since March 31st. Mr. Torelli, the chairman of that board, is going to give you an update as to where things stand. The only thing I'll mention about that is the part that I think is most exciting, which is the projects. And we do have an exciting project that many of you probably saw in the paper recently. It was a cover article for the Times Herald Record last week about Fiorello, otherwise known as GTI or Green Thumb Industries. They're a cannabis manufacturer. The IDA approved the final resolution for their pilot sales tax exemption, mortgage reporting tax exemption. So that's the go-ahead for this project to move forward. It's an exciting project, $50 million in the first phase alone, 125 permanent jobs. And probably most importantly, it fits in perfectly with, well, what's been called the CBD accelerator. Maybe cannabis accelerator is probably more accurate right now at the former prison site in Warwick, Warwick Valley Technology Park, it's being called. Sativa is another cannabis manufacturer, medical cannabis manufacturer. They have resumed their construction at that site as well. So it's it's a great fit. It's a great project, and it really fits in well with what's the investments being made in Warwick for the cannabis accelerator. So that's pretty exciting. Second thing I wanted to comment on was just actually I want to give you two other updates today. One is on Amy's Kitchen, and the other on Legoland New York. For Amy's Kitchen, I'm just going to show you a quick slide deck here. So let's see where I share my screen. One moment here, it's coming up. Can everyone see that?
Yep, we got it.
You see that now? Terrific. Okay, it's pretty basic. This is a slide. Of course, they shared these slides with me in a periodic update we do. This is the reason that Amy's is here, because 60% of what they produce right now on the West Coast in Santa Rosa, California, Medford, Oregon, and then they converted a couple of years ago, converted a Heinz ketchup factory in Pocatello, Idaho. But still 60% of what they produce out west comes east of the Mississippi, mostly on the eastern seaboard. That's why they wanted a presence here, and that's why they're building in Goshen. Here's really what the update is. You're looking at the top left there. That is the building pad right there. That's really where the building envelope for the actual vertical building will go up. They put in a bridge connecting this site with what's now known as the Science of the Soul site, which is Amy's original building site. They connected that with a $2 million bridge they had to put in to cross the Wallkill. That's been completed. Going to the next box here, driveway paved and intersection operational. An important piece of this was the infrastructure at 17M, aligning the traffic light there, the entrance to the Amy site, and the entrance to the fire training facility across the street. That has all been completed. That work is all done. If you drive by there, you see it's beautiful there, and there is signaling that is in position to allow people in and out of the Amy site to help with the flow there. So that piece has been done as well. The access bridge you see on the right, it's a beautiful bridge. It is what it is, but that is done. That was necessary again to connect the two sites. Traffic for both SOS, Science of the Soul, and for Amy's Kitchen will come in off 17M. There's a road that comes into the site, and you can head straight into Science of the Soul, or you'll cross the bridge to go to the factory site for Amy's. And again, they're going to be building on that pad site in the top left. You see a picture of the groundbreaking with the Amy and Rachel Berliner, Senator Schumer, Goshen Supervisor Doug Bloomfield, Middletown Mayor Joe DeStefano, of course, the county executive Steve Newhouse. He was actually, that was the day he really reappeared, came back after his deployment in Iraq. So that was an important day. But B will be even more momentous when they break ground to start construction. The only other piece that was required, you see the last image there, water and sewer pipeline. If you recall, they contracted with the city of Middletown to provide water and sewer to the site. You're talking a few miles from their facilities to the Amy's site. And in order to bring water and sewer there, they buried pipe in the ground under the Heritage Trail. They did that in coordination with our extension efforts to extend the trail from Goshen to Middletown. And that project is 100% complete. So it seems, I know to a lot of folks that they haven't been doing much, but they have. That was an enormous project and a costly project, along with the infrastructure, the bridge, et cetera, et cetera. But that's all completed now. They've applied for a building permit with the town of Goshen, and they're looking to break ground in the next month or two to start construction. Now on the next slide here, you'll see this is just a sneak peek. This is a rendering of the facility at the site, overlaid on an image of the property itself. You'll see that the building and parking, et cetera. I don't think I can highlight anything, but if you look at the building structure itself and then look at what would be, so the way we're looking at the bottom right-hand corner, and you see that there's kind of a lower level, a lower story to that. That is basically what's going to be the entrance. It's going to be for what they call employee welfare, that where they have meals, et cetera, and some offices there, and they're going to have construction crew, kind of their trailers. They're going to have offices essentially in that building as well. That's the first phase that they're going to start building, and they'll have that completed. You see here their timeline. Construction work beginning this spring. At the end of this year, they'll have that construction, office management, and occupancy of what they're calling the welfare building. And then at the end of 2022, they'll be making food. Also in the current phase, the construction that will start next month, they are looking to have two food lines up there. Let me get rid of this first of all. I'll finish with you. Let's see. Perfect. So again, a portion of the construction, the first phase will be for two production lines and the required support services for that. And for that phase of production, food production, they'll need over 200 employees for that. We all know it's going to be total about 700 employees, but to start with what they'll be able to put in place after the first phase, you're talking 200 employees. Science of the Soul, I actually have a call with them next week to get an update. But as everyone knows, they're not supposed to do anything else on that site until construction of the actual Amy's Kitchen factory is underway. Last thing is Legoland. You're all seeing, if you're driving by, you see that the overpass, I'm trying to think of the word that we've all been using for that. Yeah, but regardless, the overpass. Exactly, that is one name we could give it, no question.
Flyover.
The flyover, thank you, flyover, that escaped me. So you'll see that's fully operational with its traffic circles, et cetera. That's
Don't give them
traffic.
ideas.
Yeah, right. It's delivers traffic to Harriman Circle and into the park and into the BOCES, et cetera, et cetera. So that is all complete. If you drive by the site, even if you pull up and can't get in, you can just see how much is done there. They're really buttoning up final details there, and they are in the middle of staff training now. So you'll see soft openings for Legoland New York this month and next. They have not announced an official grand opening yet, but they will be in the next couple of weeks. You'll hear more about that. They're going to be opening at 33% capacity. That's just per COVID regulations from New York State. We've all heard about that as well. You may recall that they anticipated attendance at the park between 2 and 2.5 million visitors, but with the restrictions, with any anticipated hesitancy of guests to the park, you may see less than 1 million visitors this year. Obviously, it's getting a later start as well. So it will be under, but they do expect still to peak eventually to 2.5 million people. Last thing about staff for Legoland, one of, I think, of more unsung details of this great project is the fact that they're going to have hundreds of full-time staff. It's not just ticket takers, ride attendants. There are a lot of permanent, full-time, good-paying jobs right here in Goshen all year round. There's 170 presently, and that will climb steadily. For part-time staff, there's currently over 400 right now. In June, they'll have up to 600, and in the peak of the season this year, they expect 1,000 employees. So we're ready to roll there. Things are all set to take off with a couple of our biggest projects, and as you're also seeing this construction projects all over the county. So those are two of our biggest ones. I've also been working on the Grand Street buildings in Newburgh, but Mr. Poor is going to cover that. So that's my brief update now. If anyone has any questions, happy to take those.
Any questions for Bill? I see Chairman Brusher. Go ahead.
Yeah, not really a question, just a couple statements. I want to say with the Amy's Kitchen project, I saw the water line, the sewage line rather. I want to say that thank the legislature for being very involved in that. If not for that, the project would not have happened. It was quite a bit of heavy lifting with the county attorney's office, the legislature, Legislator Sierra, Mayor DeStefano, and the city partners in Middletown. So I thank the legislature for that. We didn't get a shovel at the groundbreaking ceremony, unfortunately. We don't get all the recognition we deserve. And I just have to say, though the former IDA will endure some embarrassment over the next few months and pointed out some missteps that were made, I just have to say that so-called corrupt board that was stated by an individual here earlier who didn't know he was mic'd up, 99% of that CBD cluster at Warwick, though you wouldn't read it in the Times Herald Record, was created by the partnership with Mike Sweeten and the LDC down there and the former IDA board. And there's many accomplishments that should be attributed to the former so-called corrupt board. So next time, sir, keep your comments to yourself. Thank you. And that wasn't directed at you, Bill.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that, Steve. I don't know who that made that comment, but when we took that vote, it was very clear on the reasons we were taking that vote. Due to everything going on, we had no communication with the old board, which is why we decided to terminate that board and put in a new board. By doing so, we were not making any kind of assumptions or accusations towards anyone. So that
I understand that. Thank
Yep.
you, sir.
That comment was completely inappropriate. All right. Anyway, moving on. Any other questions for Mr. Fioravanti? Okay, seeing none. Bill, thank you. And I know you're going to stick around. Our next topic is, myself and Michael Torelli, chairman of the IDA, for an IDA update. I'm going to turn that over to Mike. Mike, I want to thank you for being here. I know, this new board, they've really jumped in and done a lot of work here over the last 2 months or so. And I know Mike has been very busy, as chairman and guiding the board through the process. So, Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman Ruszkiewicz. For all of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Torelli, and a resident here in the village of Goshen, lifelong resident of Orange County. First of all, on behalf of the board, not only myself, but all the board members, we want to thank everyone for nominating us and appointing us to the IDA board. With that said, I'll give you a brief update, and then if you have any questions. First and foremost, we met numerous times, and on the first part of all of our agendas is the full compliance with not only the DA subpoena, but also the Orange County Legislative Request for Information. And we update that every time we meet. I am proud to announce that we're in 100% compliance. We'll be announcing that tomorrow at our next board meeting, but a precursor to that, we're at 100% compliance with the requests from both of those entities. We recently had numerous meetings over the last couple weeks, and I was graciously offered and voted upon to be the chairman of the board, which I graciously accepted. As you may know, I have extensive experience in economic development, both at the local, county, and then at the state level. So we look forward to continuing to move forward with the purpose and the mission of the Orange County Industrial Development Agency. The way I see it as the chairman of the board, we literally have two hats. Our first hat is project focused, and as Bill updated you on, was the seamless moving forward on the final resolution for Fiorello/Green Thumb, and a subsequent press release to get the word out there that not only is the IDA, but including all of our economic development partners open for business. And we hope that that was received well and that we'll get some business from that. We continue to put projects on the second most foremost agenda items. So first is obviously compliance, like we talked about, and second is projects. And then third is the understanding of what IDAs are, the different rules, regulations, trainings, you name it. The various members are going through all their required trainings, and we are planning, while we don't have a date yet, in the very near future to do a reorganization meeting of the Orange County IDA, as to use it as more of a of understanding what the roles and responsibilities are and the trainings and the official requirements, but more importantly, to get some best practices of what's out there so that we can maintain the Orange County IDA as being the best IDA in New York State and fully open for business. Obviously, we have some work to do ahead of us. Various members have various levels of involvement in economic development, and we look forward to bringing everyone up to speed on the board level so that they all feel comfortable with asking the right questions and being able to vote in a timely manner on our mission, which is projects, projects, and projects. It's really to create the commercial tax base of Orange County and to expand upon that. Lastly, on a quick update, I'd like to be able to thank not only the county executive and the county legislature for the assistance during this transition to have Bill come over and work with us on a day-to-day basis. He's been an instrumental part in being our liaison between staff and council, as well as consultants. And we look forward to continuing that relationship as we continue to reorganize. While we may not have all the answers today on what that reorganization means, we look forward to making future presentations. So I will make myself available at any and all E&E committee meetings or any other legislative committee meetings that don't interfere with my full-time job. And I look forward to being fully transparent and fully forthright in anything that the Orange County Legislature would like, as well as any ideas that you can have and share with us to make Orange County an easier place to do business. And then lastly, we know that we've had some transition in staff, and while it's been something that has happened during this first couple of weeks, it has been something that we've delved right into. We've had some resignations and we've had some movements and some tough votes that we've had to do recently. But more importantly, we're ready, willing, and able to take care of this on an ongoing basis. So with that, Paul, Chairman Ruszkiewicz, I'll turn it over back to you if you have any comments or concerns, as well as if Bill needs to have any comments that I did not touch upon. He may know better details on it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Mike, I think you covered things pretty well. I know you mentioned that the IDA has complied with everything the DA's asked for, as well as the legislature. I did get that information from Betsy. It's quite a bit of information, so transferring it is a little bit of a challenge, but she did get it to me. I've started looking at it. Like I said, there's quite a bit there. I haven't asked her to send it out to all legislators yet, just because of the amount of information that's there. If any legislators would like it, I can work with Betsy to have that sent to you. At this point, I don't think we need to take any action on it until we hear more the outcome of the DA's investigation. With that, I'll open it up to questions. Any questions for either myself or Mike or Bill? See Legislator Hines, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard a rumor that some of the board members may have resigned. I don't know if that was Mike was referring to. Is the board fully staffed? And the other question is, are the accelerators staffed and running, or are they temporarily shut down? Only because I heard it through the rumor mill. I just want to hear it from you guys who are right on the forefront.
Yeah, as far as the board, we did have 2 resignations. One was Mr. Bloomer. I know he had some personal issues. He didn't feel he had the time to commit to it. The other was just last week, Tyler Etzel resigned. That's something we're going to be looking at next month to fill those 2 positions. I know I've heard a couple names already. If any legislators have other names, people might be interested, let me know, and we'll put a list together for next month to consider. And as far as staff, I think I'd let Bill comment on the staffing, as the accelerators are all up and running the way they work. So go ahead, Bill.
Yes, just to answer that, as far as staff, full-time staff here at the IDA/accelerator, we did have a couple resignations, the CEO and the COO. There's a couple of administrators and myself and the CFO that are still here working. I've been at all the accelerator sites. I've spoken with every client that we have, every tenant that we have. They continue to operate. Absolutely. We're continuing to support them virtually in the same ways that they had been before. It's just between myself, Kelly Riley here, and anyone else that we need to pull on. So they are still moving, and that's in Middletown at Toro Medical Center, the Horton Hospital location, 2 buildings on Broadway in Newburgh, New Windsor, just down the hill here in the airport campus. Warwick, we mentioned the CBD accelerator there as well. And then the accelerator was working on a location for Highland Falls focused on artificial intelligence, but that is not up and running yet. So there's no operations there yet, but things still moving, and we're taking calls from people, accelerator tenants as needed, and responding to their needs.
Yeah, and I believe Mr. Toyle mentioned, staffing is something we're going to be looking at in terms of, staffing needs and what hiring we may need to do in the future.
So do the people work directly for the IDA now? There's no contractors employing these people?
Contract. So the accelerator, basically, the contractor was GTI, right? I'm sorry, GTG, Galileo Technology Group, led by Mr. Cozzolino. He did have staff working with him, and they're no longer part of this. So we are responding to whatever needs, whether it's maintenance issues, needing to resolve, sharing resources and equipment, and say, for example, the fashion manufacturing pod. So we're resolving those things, but none of the contractors that were with Galileo are on board still.
So the people manning the accelerators are employees of the IDA?
So when you say manning, just to be clear, so the accelerator really is made up of companies. They're made of companies that are our tenants, our sublease tenants in these buildings that we lease. So it's really these companies running their own businesses and us providing support services. That's really how it works, and that continues to be the same.
Okay. And my last question, I guess, is for Paul. How are we going to replace these board members? In the past, we've always had the chairman make the appointments. Is that how we're going to go back to? Or is there a new way of appointing these people? Because I know 7 names just popped up the last month and they were all board members. Are we going to go through a process this time? Is that the plan?
Yeah. Like I said, I'll be making a list of names of people who might be interested, or names that we've received, and resumes. And then I'll be bringing 2 names forward next month.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I see County Executive Newhouse has his hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, guys. I wasn't going to say anything, but then I heard Kevin ask questions. I just had quick things. My recommendation to you guys have sole power over who runs the IDA and the board members. I would highly recommend you do not reappoint anybody of the existing board that was just replaced. until the DA's recommendation. You guys do what you want, but I highly recommend that none of them get reappointed, at least at this given time. The second thing I think that you guys could consider, I had an economic development meeting last week with the Chamber of Commerce, the partnership, Bill Fioravanti, tourism, we're all on the call. I think it's time to move the IDA back to Goshen, and they should be headquartered with everybody else, maybe at Matthew Street. Something for you guys to consider. And I know, I think the IDA board should consider it as well, that you guys appointed. It is the Orange County IDA, not New Windsor, not Cornwall, not Chester. And I think that if you had it under one roof with the Chamber of Commerce, the partnership, or at least in close proximity to the legislature and the county apparatus, it would be a better functioning body. The last thing I would just say, and I think Kevin asked about it, was really how are the leases and all those things. And I think that's what the IDA board is doing. I think the 5 members that are left, as well as some of the people helping them, are all doing a great job. But really, it's about stopping the bleeding now. The lease agreement on an empty building in Highland Falls, things to that nature. So that's all I have to say. That wasn't me with hot mic. I think Steve Russia knows that too. But I know a lot of people ask me if that was my hot mic, right? Steve, you agree it wasn't me. But
No, I know your voice.
that's all I got for you guys. And
Well, everybody knows my Bronx accent too, so.
but that was
Yeah,
my
you can't hide that.
that was my
Exactly.
recommendation. That was my recommendations to you guys. Take it for what it's worth. But I'm sitting here kind of on the outside, learning about some of the stuff. And as we move forward, and we have a ton of economic development going on in the county. I talked to Amanda Dana for about an hour today. I was up in Albany. I just got back. A lot of great stuff happening. So we're going to need to move forward with a better machine at some point anyway. So again, that's all I have for you. Thank you, Chairman Ruskevich, and good to see everybody.
All right, thank you, County Executive, and I plan on talking to you here in the near future about some of these issues as well. Any other questions? I see Legislator O'Donnell, you waving your hand there.
Right, thank you, Chairman. I just want to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss part of the investigation and also personnel issues. This is the first I'm hearing about another board member resigning, so I'm just making a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have motion and second to go into executive session. Any discussion? Okay, all in
I'd
favor?
also like,
Yeah, out of that. You have to keep me
I'd
out.
like,
Aye.
We need a reason.
I gave a reason.
You stated it.
Were you muted?
Relative to the law.
Relative to what?
Is it to talk about personnel?
Personnel.
Langdon or Betsy?
And the current investigation being conducted by us. All right. I'd also like Bill and Mike Torelli to join us.
So just for clarification, that would be pursuant to section 105 of the Public Officers Law, section F, specifically addressing personnel issues.
Okay, any
I think
other?
vote has, I don't think the vote's been taken yet. Has
No,
it?
not yet. Is there any other discussion relative to the motion? No. Okay, with that.
I'm just going to turn off, but I'll come back in when I'm going to cut myself out. Okay.
Okay, understood, Chairman. Thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, we're now in executive session. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're now out of executive session on a motion by Mr. Cheney and second by legislator Stenenga, and voted on. We're now out of executive session. Any other questions or comments relative to the IDA? I see Mr. O'Donnell. Go ahead.
Yeah, this question for Mike Torelli. Have you been in contact with the town of Warwick about the $2 million loan, when that's coming back to the IDA?
So we did have a distinct conversation. It was all about the Green Thumb project, and with Supervisor Sweeten. We also included Supervisor Sweeten on the PR. We did not get into the details of the loan. Our assumption and our hope is that once this company closes on the property there, is that the funds will be forthwith, and that's what our hope is, but no exact details at this time.
Okay, so can you give us an update next month? Thanks.
Yep.
Give you an update anytime you need it.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, see no further questions. Mr. Troy, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and thank you again for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Chairman Reskevich. Thank you.
Okay, with that, next up on the agenda, we have our county historian, Johanna Poor, for a department update. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening. I'm contacting you today because I wanted to get up to date on a couple of things since we haven't really spoken through the pandemic and with the capital plan deadline coming up. So the first thing is that the two paintings in the basement of the 1841 courthouse. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get the money through a capital plan this year to restore those paintings. That's about $10,000, and I'll be putting that in. So I just wanted you to be aware that you'll be seeing that. And that relates, those two paintings relate to the 1841 time period when the Erie Railroad first went in. One of the paintings is of horses racing the train as the train line first approached Goshen. So I've also this year had a consultant do work on creating an interpretive plan for the Heritage Trail. And that's in the paperwork that was sent to you. It's an estimate on what it would cost to correlate our interpretation with what's going on with the Empire Trail that's going to go through all of New York State, so that we could have matching historic markers that fit that, branding of obviously ours would say Orange County and not New York State, but there's information that's attached to your packet. And I know that that's an expensive project, so I'm not asking for those funds this year. But I wanted all of you to know that that plan exists. And if you felt that it's something that you do want to see happen, we could put in for the money, or I could talk to Parks about doing so, or DPW, or somebody that's more intimately involved with the Heritage Trail. So just want to put it on your radar. And then the third item is Algonquin Park, which I won't get too detailed into, but we're moving forward with the masonry restoration plan that we had in the works for many years, and even had a meeting today about it with Parks Department and the consultant in Albany to proceed with restoring 4 of the buildings as a beginning point, to stabilize, make them safer, and to hopefully interpret them historically as well for all of the visitors to the park. So that information is available if anyone would like to see or hasn't seen yet the map, the folding brochure, and the interpretive plan that we've put together in the past year for it. And then the fourth thing that I wanted you to be aware of is that I guess now 2 years ago, there was an idea of putting $100,000 aside for helping the local museums. And when the pandemic hit, that money was immediately taken out of the budget. But I don't know, with the stimulus money or whatever else is going on in the county, if that's something that's going to be renewed again. But I've included the inventory that we put together last year, listing out all of the sites that we have in the county. I think it equals out to be about 67 at this point, historic entities in the county. And there's one that we had to add to the list because in Walk Hill now there's the Horton House, which is being preserved. So we actually we were afraid we were going to lose some museums through the pandemic, but we've actually in Orange County added one museum to our list. So that's all I have to lay out. Those are the things that I'm working on that relate to the budget. But I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any, or talk to anybody, at another time about how to proceed with some of these projects.
Okay, any questions? I see Legislator Paduk, Minority Leader Paduk, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joanna, in regard to the Heritage Trail, I mentioned a couple of years ago in regards to those markers and some, are we looking for sponsors? I mean, I submitted a whole trail, I forget what it was called. It was a trail marker system like they have upstate. And they have a lot of sponsors that donate a lot of money to make these things happen, which would be great support for our Heritage Trail. I was just wondering if you have that on your agenda anywhere, or if you're putting together any kind of program, or if you need that information again, please let me know.
Okay, the study that we put together last year lays out what the cost of producing those signs would be. It comes in around $100,000 to sign the entire trail. So that does not take into account how the $100,000 would be gathered in order to make that happen. And if a citizen organization wanted to put together a nonprofit that was, with that goal in mind, at least we now have a number. It's in the paperwork, but it's around $100,000 is what it would cost us to have exactly, the quality that the Empire Trail has for interpretation.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'll stay on top of that. I'll talk with you a little bit more about that.
Okay.
Thank you, Joanna.
Okay, any other questions for Johanna? Oh, Mr. O'Donnell, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So what kind of signs are you talking about, Joanna, for the whole trail that cost $100,000?
So on most of the trails that are run by, that are funded by Hudson Valley Greenway, there's the sort of flat, low signs that are large with a lot of color and photos and descriptions. And there are certain ones that repeat, that are sort of like wayfinding signs. You might have several copies of them along the trail every mile or so, or whatever. But then there's also ones that are unique to each area as you go along the trail that'll describe the history of that location. And there's a whole packet that I attached and sent to the office that you can take a look at, and it describes some of the categories of what kind of information we would want to have out on the trail, but it also describes the process of having those signs printed and what the costs are. So it's essentially copying the model of the Empire Trail. They just hired this Milestone Heritage Consulting company to sign there and put signs along their trail, and we're trying to. Well, I just figured it would be good to have the information. So if it's something that we want to see happen on the Heritage Trail, we now have a plan for how to do that.
Okay, thanks. And separate subject, we're restarting the committee on Valley View, on future Valley View. So I'm going to need you to do the history of Valley View. So
okay.
if you can get me something by July, give you some time to do that.
Last time you asked, I put together a short PowerPoint, but I haven't gotten around to going into the archives, like the Goshen archives, to find some photos to go along with it. But are you looking for just text, or are you looking for photos as well?
You can do both, because we're going to do a whole packet at the end of the committee that'll be presented to the whole legislature and to the public. So I'd like a complete history, because you're going to be kicking it off. All right, that'll be the beginning. And then Lawrence is going to do the current status, and then we'll include what the committee's recommended for the future. So that's how I see it. But you're the key, because you got to open the first page to keep people reading.
Okay, so I've got a lot of that research done, but not configured with photos yet. We'll work on that.
So, all right, thanks. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Minority Leader Paduk, I see your hand up again. Yeah, you're muted, Mike.
In regards to the Valley View Committee, Jim, that I sit on with you,
yes.
Is that the committee that you're talking about?
Yes.
It is. Well, that committee's sole responsibility was to see what we're going to do with the land, right? I mean, we're going to put together a master plan for that parcel. That's what our plan should be. I thought that's what it was.
Exactly, the future of Valley View. So it's
okay. I just wanted to make sure that. I'm just wanting to make sure about that. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, any other questions for a historian? Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. So Johanna, thank you very much for the update.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Deputy County Executive Harry Poor for an update on the sale of the Newburgh Green Street properties. Mr. Poor, go ahead.
Okay, can we go into executive session?
We can if you'd like
No,
to.
I'm only kidding, I'm just teasing you.
Oh,
The Grand Street project is still a go. We have been in contract discussions with Tim's Foster people. We wrote the contract, the original sales contract. We sent it over to his lawyers. They worked it over. They sent it back to us recently. We've looked at it again in detail, and there are very minor discrepancies or points of contention. It is now back with the hospitality group's lawyers. So we're waiting for them to look at our changes and send it back to us. Collaterally, the city of Newburgh's planning department has approved all of the changes that would be required for them to do what they have said they wanted to do on Grand Street. They also have informed me, the Foster Group, that the private financing for the project is now in place. I spoke with Sims Foster last week, and he's reassured me of his interest in going forward. And the city IDA, he's been in contact with them as well, and they're ready to work with him to make this project come into being. I spoke to the city manager this morning, just to touch base, knowing I was having this meeting, and they too are very excited about the prospect of this happening. So if I was to give you a guess, I'd say probably within the next 2 months, we'll have a contract ready to bring back to you for your consideration and hopefully approval.
okay. Questions or comments for Mr. Poor? All right. Not seeing any. I know, Mr. Poor, you'll probably be back with us next week at Physical Services as well. So if anyone comes up with questions between now and then, we can certainly answer them then. But with that, I just want to thank you. Thank you for the update.
Okay, no problem, anytime.
Okay, that clears our agenda. So I would look for a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. I see Minority Leader Paduch has his hand up. Mike, you're muted again.
Is there a possibility of an update on the Camp LaGuardia project as well? On what's happening there? I've heard different things, but I'm not sure actually what is happening. Harry, could you update us on that?
Well,
Since we're talking about properties.
I can tell you something that didn't happen. We were trying to arrange a short-term lease with a company called Transco, who's building a new power line about 12 miles in the middle of the county from Rock Tavern into Chester. And we were going to rent them that place as a staging area for a short period of time because we give us some revenue and also would provide a higher level of security for that property. So that's what didn't happen that we were hoping would happen. As far as the property itself goes, we had one response to the RFP, and Bill can do the color on this if I miss anything. But there was one response to the RFP. It didn't seem to me like it was really a sincere response. It was a very low number. The plan that they wanted to put forward seemed a little confusing, and we've decided to just wait, let Legoland open up, and then possibly maybe do another RFP after they get some traction. Bill, is there anything else?
Bill, would you add that low price? What was the low price that we offered? $250,000 for all those properties?
I think they bid 1.25 million.
Yeah, but it was phased in. It wasn't going to be right away. It was like
Right, within 3 tranches.
period
Yes.
of time. They did different steps, and they would fill in the 1.25.
And that's out now too, then you're saying, right?
Well, it's I guess it's still on the desk, but it's not really being given close consideration at this time.
Right, and Great Wolf Lodge is no longer interested either?
No.
Okay.
But again, things can change. Legoland's going to open up this month, like this month, Bill, I think. And you give that a year, and there might be new interest in that LaGuardia property.
Oh, okay, hopefully. Thank you.
I think we have like $10 million invested there.
A little bit more than that, isn't it? Plus the 1.5 we paid back to the first contractor we sold it to?
$1 million here, $1 million there. I don't know. It's about 10.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, I see Chairman Brush has his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, what Harry said, that there could be interest. I dropped somebody off there last week, and it's a long way up there. I mean, it's been years since I was up there. It was the old Hillcrest days restaurant, which many of you probably didn't know about. But I think, yeah, the guy, I drove a chef up there, and he said that the hotel is still under construction, and it's rented out for, I mean, it's rented out. It's filled up for the next year at least. It's booked out. So that says a lot, I think. And
You're
that's
talking
a good
about
sign.
the,
So I think,
talking about the
Uh,
Lego Hotel? Yeah.
Legoland,
Legoland.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, so that's a good sign for future of Camp LaGuardia or something else. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Nope. All right, well, seeing none, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Have a good night.
So moved,
So
Toto.
moved, Cheney.
Total and Cheney, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. See you next month.